Good morning, Julie. Julie, make sure you have a strap today, please, and 2 blocks. And Laura, you will find a solution for you without the blocks. So let's go ahead and start by getting seated into a tall and comfortable seat. And you can sit however works best for you. And the first thing I want you to do once you find yourself in your seated posture is, as usual, I'd like you to either close the eyes completely or soften the gaze on the floor. And then once you find yourself with your eyes either resting down on the floor or your gaze completely closed down, fidget around in the body until it feels like you can come to a neutral spine that feels both comforting as well as energized. And then you'll start to notice if there's any thoughts that are still sort of percolating through the mind, and see if you can just notice that they're there, and then allow yourself to just take 3 deep breaths. So we're not forcing the thoughts away, we're just redirecting our attention towards our breath. And then at the end of your 3rd exhalation, you'll start to tone the back of the throat and invite in a gentle Ujjayi pranayama. And the first thing that we'll do as we're breathing today is I want you to see if you can just simply make your in-breath and your out-breath the same length. So maybe it's a count of 4, 5, or 6. And then once you find that the breath feels like the inhalation and the exhalation are about the same length, you'll start to see if you can smooth it out. So sometimes it'll feel like there's a lot of energy at the start, and then it sort of fizzles out by the time you get to the end. But see if the inhalation can be smooth and continuous from beginning to end. And then similarly with the exhale, that the exhale isn't strong and then it peters out at the end, but it's smooth and continuous throughout. And you might start to notice that as the breath has an equal length for inhalation and exhalation, and then as there's an equal length or intensity or force throughout the inhalation and throughout the exhalation, your mind starts to drop into this moment just a little bit more. And so you'll just take 3 or 4 more breaths on your own, again, letting the inhalation and the exhalation be as equal in length as possible. And then letting the inhalation and exhalation be as seamless in intensity or effort as possible. And then at the end of your next exhalation, you'll gently allow the gaze to come down towards the floor and allow your eyes to softly open if they were closed. From there, bring the head back up to vertical, and we're going to grab our strap. The first thing that we're going to do is just unwind our strap all the way. And if you need to switch the cross of your ankles, by all means, go ahead and do that as well. And then once you're ready, if you've got a buckle or a loop, hold one end of that buckle or loop in one hand, and then extend the rest of the strap out to the other side. And we want to make sure our strap is just a little bit wider than shoulder distance apart. So walk your hands in just a little bit for me, Julie. There we go. And then we'll just inhale and reach the strap up and above our heads. And then exhale, draw the strap in front of you towards the floor. And we'll just do about 5 of these. So you're inhaling, pulling the strap wide apart as you reach the strap up and over your head. And then exhaling, pulling the strap wide apart as you lower the strap towards the floor. We've just got 3 more of those. Big inhalation, pulling the strap, reaching it up. And big exhalation, pulling the strap and pulling it down. Awesome sauce. This is my 4th one. So the next time your arms are up and overhead, we'll go ahead and stay there. And you'll just take a moment to pause and breathe here. Really root down through the pelvis, lift up through your crown and pull wide on your strap. Notice that you can draw your heart forward by drawing the shoulder blades together on your back and maybe lifting your gaze and the chest for 3, pulling the strap apart for 2, softening any tension around your neck for 1, and on your next exhalation, draw the strap forward and to the floor. Gently release the strap for a moment and just take 3 or 4 shoulder circles one way. And then after you've gone that direction, you'll switch directions and go 3 or 4 circles the other way. Fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and come to stillness again. Grab the strap once again. Now this time you're going to take your strap a little bit wider than you did the first time. Inhale, reach the arms up and overhead, and then exhale, draw the strap back as far as you can just to find a stretch across your chest. And you're going to pause there. Make sure your palms are still facing up towards the sky. Pull your strap apart and just breathe into the top part of your chest. See if the heart can stay open, the head can stay lifted. Nice job. Next in-breath, arms come up, and exhale, hands come down to the floor. Now we're going to add on. So inhale, arms come up and overhead. Exhale, arms go back behind you, and maybe they come down towards your bum to the floor behind you. And then inhale, the strap comes back up and over your head. And exhale, down to the floor. We've got 5 of these. So inhaling, the arms come up. And exhale, the arms go back behind you, maybe towards the floor, maybe not. Inhale all the way up. And exhale down to the floor in front of you. Now, as you complete these next 4 on your own, see if both shoulders can work at the same rate. So sometimes it'll feel like one shoulder wants to cheat and go first. See if both of them can go at the same time, both going forward and back. Okay. Let's do one more on our own. So inhaling when the arms come up and exhaling when the arms come down. Fantastic. From here, let's go ahead and inhale and reach both arms up and overhead. Now from here, actually, let's come down just a little bit because it'll be easier so you don't have strap in your face. Walk your hands about 1 handprint closer towards each other, and then reach the strap back up and over your head. Fantastic. Now from here, we're going to take a little side bend. So your right arm is going to play tug of war with your left arm. So you're going to inhale and lift up. As you exhale, the right arm is going to be stronger than the left. So you're going to start to take a little side bend towards the right. You're resisting with the left. And you'll just take a moment to breathe here. See if you can still keep your left armpit chest open and maybe take your gaze a little bit towards your left armpit, maybe towards the ceiling. Inhale, now the left arm wins and you come back up through center. And exhale, the left arm continues to win and you go over a little bit to the left. Now again, you're breathing into the right side. Maybe you're looking towards the right armpit or maybe up towards the ceiling or the sky. And you just take a moment to pause and breathe. Awesome sauce. Inhale, the right arm starts to win. You come back up. Exhale over to the right. Again, the right arm is just winning this time and you're just pausing and you're breathing. You're pulling the strap apart. Fantastic. Inhale, come back up through center. And exhale, the left arm wins. Right arm resists, and you go over towards the left. Fantastic. Inhale, come back up through center. As you exhale, lower the strap. Switch the cross of your legs. And then take a few shoulder circles, which this time might want to include your head. So you might circle the shoulders and let your head go around, or you might just circle your head around and let your shoulders be still, but you just start to pay attention to what's happening in the upper shoulder neck region. Cool. All right. Once you're set with that, go ahead and come to stillness, grab your strap once again. So this time we're going to reach our arms up and overhead. We're going to let the tug of war win with the right, so much so that your left elbow bends. And when your left elbow bends, you're going to bend your right elbow behind you and release the strap momentarily and grab the strap again somewhere else. Now from here, I want you to pull your right elbow shoulder thing down, your left elbow shoulder thing up, pull on that strap and let your heart come forward and through. And you just breathe here for 3. You breathe here for 2. You breathe here for 1. Release just your right hand. Climb the right hand up the strap a little bit closer to your left hand. And then again, You're going to pull the arms apart, the elbows apart. You pull the strap apart and see if you can hug your shoulder blades onto your back for 3, onto the back for 2, onto the back for 1. Release just the right hand. Climb the right hand a little higher up towards the strap, or up towards your left hand rather. And then again, you pull the arms in opposition, left elbow up, right elbow down. Hug the shoulder blades together on the back and see if you can sit tall through your spine. So is your head creaking forward, or can you keep your head right on your spine? Fantastic. From there, gently release just the right arm. Slide it down the strap. Go ahead and bring both arms back, up and overhead. Release your arms for a second. Just notice what you notice between both shoulders. Move things around if you need to, but just feel how that feels. Fantastic. And then let's go ahead and try that on the other side. So both arms up and overhead. Left arm starts to play tug of war. It wins so much so that the right arm bends. The bottom left arm will bend and internally rotate. Release the strap and then grab the strap again. Make sure your head stays on your spine and pull up through your right elbow, down through your left, pulling on that strap, both shoulder blades on the back for 3, for 2, for 1. Release just the left hand, climb the hand a little higher up towards the right hand. And then again, pull the strap apart, draw the left shoulder blade onto the back, lift up through the heart for 3, for 2, for 1. Fantastic. Gently release the left hand 3rd time's the charm. Grab 1 more time. Pull the elbows apart, hug the shoulder blades onto your back and lift your heart up for 3. Head on spine for 2. Yep. For 1. Fantastic. Gently release the left hand, slide it down the strap. Go ahead and open both arms up and overhead. Release your strap and happy days. You are done with that. Again, wiggle in any way that feels good to you. Okay, let's go ahead and come forward onto hands and knees for just a moment. And I want you to take 3 to 4 cats and cows. We're going to come to sit back one more time, but I want you to just get some movement in your spine before we do so. Just notice what it feels like in cats and cows. And as you're doing that, I also want you to notice where your attention is. Just notice where your attention is. Fantastic. Okay. Let's go ahead and come to a moment of stillness. Walk your knees, ankles, and shins together. You might choose to just sit back on your heels, not toe squat, just sit back on your heels. If that's not going to work for you, you can sit on a block or you can go back to Sukhasana. But you're going to sit however works for you for just a moment while we do a little teach and learn thing. We do have toe squat coming up later, so you're going to do that multiple times. Take your right hand, grab your left hand, and look at your forearm palm thing. Don't let your forearm palm thing move at all. Keep the other fingers extended, and you'll start by drawing the whole palm towards your face. Now see if you can take your left thumb, are we all on the same side? Left thumb to the left, start to peel your left hand down towards the floor, and start to peel your left fingers to the right and up. So this is an actual wrist circle, and you're going to do about 4 of these, and we're doing it by articulating just at the wrist joint. So we're taking the forearm out of it so it cannot help us. And so as you're watching your palm, make sure your forearm doesn't move, so it doesn't tip towards the floor, and you're trying to extend. So Steve, keep the elbow straight, and you're just doing it through the palm. So my forearm doesn't move, and if you want to hold closer to the forearm to make sure it doesn't move, we're trying to articulate just in the wrist. And then go ahead and switch direction if you haven't already. It's ironically a lot harder than one would think. Okay, and then once we're even between that, notice what happens if you just roll your wrist normally. See how your elbow moves or your forearm moves with it, whereas what we were doing before, this was still. Cool. Let's switch sides. So grab your right wrist with your left hand. Start by pulling the whole palm to your face, then go towards the right thumb. The palm will come forward in front of you. The fingers will then go to the left and come up. You've got about 5 of these, and as best as you can, don't let your right forearm get in the way. Or rather, it doesn't want to get in the way. It just wants to contribute and participate. Right now, we're trying to make the work happen just in our wrist. Okay, and after you've gone 4 or 5 that way, you'll switch directions as best as you can. Keep that forearm from moving. Yeah. And Sandy, see if you can keep your fingers together too. Yeah. Awesome. All right. When you're done with that, just take the wrist circles as you would normally do and notice how much this forearm moves, whereas that wasn't what we were doing before. Cool. Fantastic. All right, let's come forward to hands and knees once again. From here, I want you to make sure your hands are directly underneath your shoulders, your knees are directly underneath your hips. We're spending a lot of time slowly working on our wrists and our shoulders and our hands today, which we've kind of probably already assumed. So when you're on your hands and knees, I want you to very slowly just start to shift your weight from right to left. And you're looking at your hands, and I want you to notice what it feels like when the weight starts to go into one hand. And then what it feels like when the weight starts to go into the other. And specifically, where do you feel it on the knuckle ridges, the fingertop ridges? How does that connect with your shoulders? Is your head careening to the floor? Or are you able to keep your head in alignment with your spine, with your tailbone? Okay. Now, as you keep doing this and you keep breathing, what does it feel like when your weight leaves one hand? So we're paying attention to what it feels like when we shift the weight into one hand, but what does it feel like when we leave one hand? I've been curious about this because often when I try to teach handstands or things like that, I notice that sometimes we bend our elbows and it kind of makes it precarious and then we aren't very safe. So we're paying attention to what happens when the weight leaves and when the weight comes to one hand. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and come to stillness there. Now, take just your right hand, turn your right fingertips towards your left hand. Take your left hand, the L shape, so the index finger and thumb wrap around the wrist of your right hand. Keep your right arm as straight as possible, and I want you to slowly shift right and left. And it's not going to be big. Mine is like literally 2 inches because what we're trying to do is actually build flexibility. That left hand is creating space in your right wrist, and you just notice what it feels like. Then I want all of you to push down into the fingertips of the right hand, the knuckle pads of the right hand into the floor. And you're trying to keep that right elbow super duper duper straight. And you're just breathing. Roberta, go a little smaller. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and then come to stillness here. So we just made active or rather passive range of motion. Release your left hand, and we're going to see what we can do with our active range of motion. So imagining that your right hand is a hockey stick, I want you to shift your weight a little bit to the left and then shift it to the right and see if you can pull all of your right palm away from the floor without bending your right elbow. So don't let the right elbow bend. Straighten your right arm, Barbara. There you go. And then go back to the left. And then go back to the right, seeing if you can lift all 5 fingers, palm of hand up without bending the elbow. Yep, and you've got about 4 of these. And my movement when I do this literally is like an inch to the right. It's really hard to actually lift the palm of the right hand off the floor when I shift my weight to the right without having to cheat and shift my shoulders super far to the right. So you're not trying to shift all your weight to the right. You're trying to imagine your hand as a hockey puck. So keep that right arm straight, Sandy. There we go. And then go ahead and release that. Come back to normal hands and knees. And I want you to just see what it feels like now as you shift your weight from right to left. How is the right hand connecting with the floor in a way that's different than the left? How do you feel that on the front of the forearms and the back of the forearms? And then let's go ahead and come to stillness and we'll go do that the other side. So turn your left hand to face the right. L shape of the right hand comes around the crease of your left wrist. Now, again, you're shifting slowly and gently right to left. And the more that right hand pushes into the crease of the left wrist, it's just creating space. So I've been experiencing like carpal tunnel or something at work, and I've been finding that this is super helpful. And so after we've done that, that looks good, guys. We're going to go ahead and release our left hand. Sorry, release your right hand from your left hand. And then you'll keep shifting, but this time you're going to see if you can pull your whole left hand up and away from the floor as you go to the left. So that hockey stick hand happens. And then you go back to the right. Keep your elbow straight, Barbara. Yep, it's super duper hard. Like it takes a lot of mental concentration, and literally my hand or my shoulders don't go more than an inch or two to the left. It's very crazy that we're trying to do active range of motion. So when you guys try to do handstands or things like that, it's the active range that's happening. Fantastic. And we got one more set. And then release. Go ahead and come back to neutral position with both hands. From here, you're going to start to turn just your right fingers to the right, and then turn your right fingers back to face your right knee. And then if you want to, pulsing a little forward and back. And again, pay attention to what's happening in that right wrist. How does it feel if all 5 fingers of the right hand are pointing back towards your right knee? So Steve, can you externally rotate that arm just a little bit more? Yep. And it's not big movement. It's just paying attention to how our wrist is working. And then gently release that, drawing the right hand back to center. And then start to externally rotate the left hand. So left fingers out to the left, and then spin the left hand back so the palm is facing down to the floor. Fingers are facing your left knee. And again, shifting just a little bit front to back, and just feeling what you're feeling on the palm. What you're feeling at the heel, what you're feeling at the back of the forearm. Okay, fantastic. Let's go ahead and come back to center, come back to neutral. If you've got both of your blocks, please grab both of your blocks and put them towards the top of your space. And how am I going to show that? Okay. So what you're going to do is put your blocks on their lowest settings if you have them. Laura, you might actually be able to use that lead. Oh, you got blocks. Fantastic. Okay. So you are going to put your hands on the blocks, but you're only putting your knuckle pad things on the blocks. So your heel of your hands are hovering off the blocks. And you're going to do that with both hands. And then you're going to walk your knees back. Cool. Now I'm giving you a warning, a heads up. You're not going to like this, so I'm sorry. Instead of letting the heels of the hands dump, you're going to lift the heels of the hands up as though the block continued back behind you and the floor continued back behind you. So push down into your fingertip pads, your knuckles. Keep the heels of your hands lifted. Walk your knees back and reach your heart forward. And we're going to breathe here for a few moments. So your shoulders are roughly forward. So you're not back in an Anahatasana. It's more like you're closer towards half Anahatasana, half hands and knees, so somewhere in between. And then we're going to start to walk our knees forward a little bit and shift our weight forward a little bit. So now all of our weight is over our shoulders are over our wrists, and the heels of the hands are lifting up. And we're going to breathe here for 3. You're going to dome your upper back for 2. Yep, you're going to lift the back of your head for 1. Fantastic. Gently release the hands. Sit back. Okay, how did that go? Did you feel this all starting to fire? Yay! Okay, now you get to take toe squat. So go ahead and sit back for your toe squat. Oh, don't worry, Sandy, we got something coming up. You're going to totally not like this either, but that's okay. Bye, Roberta. Safe travels. And then from here, let's go ahead and sit toe squat, sit directly on top of our knees. First thing you're going to do is just flick all of your fingers. Okay, and I want you to make sure that you're actively flicking them. There we go. And with your hands in front of you, you're going to slowly start to lift them up and overhead. And as the hands go up and over your head, the fingers are getting faster in the flicks. And notice if you're cheating and making little crab claws, or if you're actually extending through all 10 fingers and actively pumping the fists in. And we'll be here for 10. Straighten the arms if you can for 9. Keep breathing for 8. Keep flicking for 7. Keep breathing for 6. Keep flicking for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Release. Okay, so your forearms are probably burning with that. And then now take your wrist circles. And notice this wrist circle versus this wrist circle. You do whatever you want, and then come forward, hands and knees, pitter patter your toes. I'm sorry, I forgot I left you guys there. Some of you came out, but pitter patter, and then counter stretch. Now, hopefully all of this will make sense after our next two shapes. All right, cool. Let's come back forward to hands and knees. Now this time, you're gonna put your hands completely flat on the floor, and I want you to lift the heel of your hand up and away from the floor like cousin it or cousin thing. Sorry, it's thing. So come forward onto hands and knees. Lift the heels and palms of your hands up and away from the floor. Cool. Shift your shoulders forward so they're over your hands. Fantastic. Now, if you have hypermobile joints, you want to make sure that they don't collapse in, so you'll have to work a little bit harder here. Some of you are going to be happy as a clam and stay right here. Some of you are going to walk your knees back a little bit. Fantastic. So shoulders stay over your wrists, but your knees go back. Some of you will stay happy as a clam there. Some of you will lift your 6 outer fingers up, so just your thumb and your index finger are still pushing down. And you're going to squeeze the thumb and the index finger together. And you breathe here for 3. You breathe here for 2. You breathe here for 1. Gently release the hands. Fantastic. Here's our thing that we've been working for the whole time. Curl both sets of toes under. Gaze forward and start to lift your pelvis up and back for downward facing dog. Now, when you come back for downward facing dog, your index fingers and thumbs are still squeezing together. You're pushing down and forward through the hands, and you're lifting up through the heels of your hands like we did when we had our hands on those blocks. Now, notice if you bend your knees a lot, you can send your butt up a little bit higher, and then pay attention to what happens in your shoulders. And then take 3 more breaths here. And you might choose to slowly just deepen the breath. And then as you're ready, let's go ahead and inhale and come forward, lowering your knees to the mat. Sitting up for a moment. And just out of curiosity, did that feel different in your down dog? Shoulders felt better, wrists felt better? Okay, cool. Let's add on. Go back to plank pose. Back to plank pose. You haven't been to plank pose, but we're going to come to plank pose. Now, because we've been spending all this time working on our hands, I want you to push down into the fingertips of all 10 fingers, and then push down to where the palms and the hands, the fingers and the palms meet. Lift up through your inner armpits. Yep. Dome the upper back just a little bit more, Laura. So push the floor away just a little bit more. There you go. Next in breath, reach your heart forward. And then as you exhale, lower all the way down onto your abdomen. Nice control, guys. Fantastic. Now, when you find yourself on your abdomen this time, extend the arms out to the right and to the left. Starting with your left hand, go ahead and look at your left hand. Spread wide through the left fingers. Slide the left hand a little bit more to the left. Make sure it's in line with your shoulders. Then take your gaze and look back at your right hand. Come to the fingertip tops of your right hand, stepping the right hand underneath where your right shoulder would be. Now, paying attention to the left hand, take a big breath in here. As you exhale, start to push through the right hand, bend the right knee, open and stack the right hips on top of the left as the right foot comes to the floor behind you. Now, walk the right hand in if you need to, but you're paying attention to what's happening in your left hand, your left shoulder. Some of you will stay right here with that right hand on the floor. Some of you will reach the right hand up towards the sky. Some of you will lean your right arm back behind you for a nice chest stretch. Some of you will turn your right thumb to your butt, bend the elbow, and bring the back of your right hand to your right hip. But you'll just take a few breaths here to breathe. You're noticing if the heart can stay open in this shape as best as possible. Nice work. If you bent the elbow, gently inhale and reach the arm back up to the sky. And then exhale, lower the right hand down, slowly transition back onto your abdomen. And we'll try that on the other side. Slide the right hand out to the right, looking at the right hand, making sure right hand is in line with right shoulder. Spread wide through all 5 fingers on that right hand. And step the left hand underneath the left shoulders. Come to the fingertip tops of the left hand. So cousin thing on that side. And then start to roll towards your right, stacking your left hip on top of the right. And as long as your right hand is still active, you'll feel a lot of stuff perhaps along the forearm. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will reach your left arm up. You might let the left arm just lean back. You might turn your left thumb to your bum and then bend the elbow and allow the back of the left hand to come to the back of your pelvis. But you'll just take a few breaths here, just noticing what this feels like. Nice work. If your left hand is bent, inhale, reach the left arm up to the sky. Exhale, bend the elbow, plant the hand right underneath you and transition back to your belly. From this position, go ahead and step both hands onto their fingertip tops in line with your shoulders. So both elbows are bent and you look like this weird snaky thing. Now make sure your hands are probably wider than your shoulders, possibly off your mat. Fantastic. Separate your feet hip distance apart. Press down into your toenails. Press down into your pubic bone and lengthen your tailbone back. Now look at your belly button and you're going to take about 4 to 5 breaths here, but you're going to inhale and look at your belly button, push down through the hands and slowly lift the torso away from the floor. Keep looking at your belly button until you're at your height. Once you find yourself at your height, maybe 4 or 5 breaths later, you'll then start to look forward. You'll draw the shoulder blades onto your back. You'll pull the hands back isometrically, the heart forward. And then you'll exhale and lower all the way back down. And we'll do that once again. So keep looking at your belly button until you're all the way up. So keep looking at your belly button. Push down through your hands. Then once you're at the top of your back bend, you draw the shoulder blades onto your back. You pull the heart and sternum forward. You press down into your toes, and then you'll exhale and lower all the way back down. Fantastic. Do one more on your own, and you're just exploring what it feels like, how to use the hands to help, how this connects to the shoulder blades, how that connects to the back bend, how that allows you to come all the way up. Fantastic, guys. This looks beautiful. And then exhale, lower all the way down. Once you find yourself all the way down, replace your hands underneath your shoulders in the normal position. So thumbs alongside your nipple line. Press down into your toes, lengthen and engage your legs. Next, in breath, pull the heart and sternum forward and through. Draw your shoulders onto the back and lift your ears in line with the shoulders. Fantastic. And you might hang out here in your cobra. You might lift the pelvis up and away from the floor and come to an up dog, but you'll just take 3 breaths here. And then when you're ready, you'll lower all the way back down. Cool. From there, come to hands and knees. And then from hands and knees, press yourself back to your downward facing dog. Now, when you're in downward facing dog this time, I want you to again notice where the back of the head is in alignment with your arms. You're pushing down and forward through the L shape of your hands and yet asymmetrically hugging that area in. The heel of the hand is light as the knuckle ridges and pads root down. Fantastic. Take a big breath in here. As you exhale, step your left knee between your hands. Pause. When you get there, come to the tips of your fingertips on both hands and just notice how you can have a lot more engagement here in these hands. Fantastic. Now, keeping your hands engaged, spin your back foot to the floor for warrior 2, but keep your hands right where they are. Notice if you need to adjust your front toes so they point a little bit more towards the right, so the center of your knee is over the center of your foot. Once you're established there, push into the back foot and then push into the front foot and come up for warrior 2. Cool. So to start, we'll have both of our hands on our hips. Your pelvis is facing the right side of your space. Now I want you to hug that outer left hip in, push down into your front foot, push down into your back foot, and hug both feet together. From here, open both arms out to the right and to the left, and then inhale, reach both arms up and over your head. Bend your left elbow, grab your left elbow with your right hand. So bend the front elbow, grab the front elbow with your front hand. Fantastic. Now push your left elbow to the left, pull the left elbow to the right. Lean your head back so your head is in line with your tailbone. Now, if you're happy as a clam there, you stay here, just feeling that stretch on the traps on your, or triceps rather, on your left arm. Some of you might release the right arm, turn the right thumb to the floor, bend the right elbow, and maybe reach around and maybe clasp the hands, or maybe hold on to your shirt. And you just pause and you breathe here for 3 breath cycles. Head leans back, root into both feet, and find that elongation through your spine. Nice work. As you're ready, if you clasp the hands, gently unclasp the right hand. Release both arms parallel-ish to the floor for warrior 2. Cartwheel the hands down to the floor. Pivot to the ball of the back foot and step yourself back to downward facing dog. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and try the other side. Take a big breath in, and then exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Pause. Nice, Steve. Come to the tops of your fingertips and just feel what that feels like there. Feeling that energy move up through the arms, up through the shoulders. Now spin the back foot to the floor. And again, your hands stay exactly as they are. Connect into your back foot even more. See if you need to walk your right toes to the left a little bit so your right knee is in line with the center of your toes. And then when you're ready, push into the feet and bring your spine up to vertical. Hands for a moment will be on your waist and you're just, or hips, and you're just noticing what that feels like. Really rooting down into both feet, hugging everything in. Then as you're ready, we'll inhale and reach both arms parallel to the floor. And reach both arms up and over your head. Bend your right elbow, that's your front elbow. Grab your front elbow with your back hand. So right elbow with the left hand. And we're just going to take a few breaths here. So you're really pulling the right elbow to the left. You're pushing the right elbow to the right. You're leaning your head back so it stays in alignment with your tailbone. And if you're happy as a clam, you will stay here. Otherwise, you'll chip through the left arm, reach the left arm back, turn the left thumb to the floor, bend the left elbow, and maybe you can reach the hands towards each other. Maybe you can clasp the hands. Maybe you're holding on to your shirt, but you're just pausing and you're breathing. Yeah, active through the legs. Nice work. If you've clasped the hands, gently release. Inhale, release both arms back to warrior 2. And then exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the floor. Pivot to the ball of your back foot and take a moment to pause in plank. From plank, inhale, shift your weight forward. As you exhale, lower through Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale through your up dog or cobra. And then exhale back to downward facing dog. And I want you to just pause and notice. We spent so much time working so slowly through things. And what happened when you were allowed to move at a much more normal pace? Did you maintain your sense of presence and awareness? Fantastic. All right. This is going to sound weird, so we'll get there in stages. Next in-breath, go ahead and look towards your hands. As you exhale, bend your knees and step or float top of space. Better, Sandy. Once you find yourself at the top of your space, I want you to separate your feet about outer hip distance apart. Now, hug your legs. Hug your legs. So arms come back behind you. If you can, see if you can bring your whole forearm to the back of your kneecaps. And I want you to bend your knees like you're out in the woods taking relieving yourself. So bend your knees like you're out in the woods, seeing how far you can drop your butt towards the floor for like malasana. And if you need to widen your feet, come out of the shape and widen your feet. Cool. So hopefully you've trapped your arms behind the backs of your legs. So Julie, see if you can separate your feet a little bit more. Fantastic. Now in this position, you should notice that there's a lot of pressure on the backs of our forearms and our wrists. Some of you will stay right here and be like, yep, Jessica, I don't like this. So Laura, drop your butt to the floor, please. And lift your head up. Cool. Let's pause and I'll have a looky-loo and then I'll show you what we're doing and then you'll do it. Okay, so this is to relieve pressure in our wrists. You're going to come to malasana. You're going to bend your knees. Your hands come back behind your legs and then you just sit. So now my hands are trapped between my legs. Is that clear? Is that weird as heck? There we go. Cool. Sandy?
I was just going to say that I found it a lot easier if I like put my heels just on a little bit of the blanket.
Yeah, you can do that or you can lift the heels completely off. Because if you lift the heels completely off, it brings more compression. And then that allows you to bend one knee and then the other. And you can get stuff happening in your wrists. And then if you start to open and close your hands like we did earlier, you'll feel this crazy sensation coming into the wrists. Did we find stuff? Okay, I got a yes and a nod. Okay, cool. And then if you'd like, you make your little fists and see what happens if you make wrist circles here. And then when you're done with all that, because this is kind of intense, you're gently going to release and come out. And we'll take a moment to sit on our butts while I ask you how that went. Okay, not okay. Got a thumbs up. Okay, got 2 thumbs up. Okay, fantastic. All right. So continuing with things, go ahead and sit on your blanket. Go ahead and sit on your blanket and you can have your blanket folded however is suitable for you. But I want you to make sure that your knees are in line with your hips. So if you need to lift your height, lift your height. If you need to lower your height, lower your height. Okay. And then just so we're all on the same side, let's start with our right shin bone in front. And as best as you can, your knees are over your ankles. Okay, so let's lift our right knee up towards the sky. Take your left hand and hold on to your right shin. Take your right hand and walk it back so it's roughly in line with your right sit bone, maybe a little bit more towards your left. Now start to crawl your right hand away from you, keeping your spine as straight as you can. Once your right hand is back behind you, you may have to keep the heel of the hand away from the floor. You may lower the whole palm towards the floor. From here, you'll start to push, or rather kick, your right knee into your left hand to straighten your left elbow. And then we'll go ahead and look towards the right. And you'll notice what this feels like in the shoulders and the wrists and the neck and the spine. Now, some of you will stay right here in this twist. Some of you will take that hockey hand with the right hand. So you'll start to lift the fingers up and away from the floor. And that'll drastically change where you're feeling sensation on your right hand. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. And then as you're ready, you'll gently release the hands back to the floor if you lifted the fingertips, and then start to walk the right hand back towards your butt. Gently release the right knee, release the left hand, release the right hand. Take a moment to sit and just notice how that feels. And then we'll go ahead and switch sides. So switch the cross of your ankles. Again, knees are over ankles as best as possible. Left shin is in front. Lift your left knee up. Take your right hand to the outer top part of your left knee. Take your left hand back behind you. Left hand roughly in line with your left hip, maybe a little to the right. Now start to walk your left hand back and away from your pelvis, keeping your spine as straight as possible as you lean back. Now, notice if you want to lower the left palm to the floor, keep the left fingertips on, or left, just the left fingertips touching, and then start to kick your left knee forward to straighten your right arm and twist your spine towards the left. And then you'll just pause and breathe here. The left knee is really reaching to the floor as you're rotating your spine to the left. Some of you will keep your left fingertips on the floor, and maybe some of you will lift the whole palm of the hand away so the fingertips are reaching up like that hockey goal stick thing we were doing earlier. Nice work. Very gently, if you lifted the fingers up, lower the fingers down. Start to crawl your left hand back towards your pelvis. Start to release the tension in the left knee, right hand. Release the right hand, release the left hand. Take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. Cool. Let's go ahead and come forward to hands and knees once again. And make your way back to downward facing dog. And then when you find yourself in down dog now, let's see if we can add all those things that we learned today. So really pushing down through the index fingers and then the ridges of the fingertips. Isometrically squeezing your thumb and your index fingers towards each other. Notice how you can then push that down and forward, but lift up through the armpits. And then start to lift the hips up and back. Nice job, guys. Take another 2 or 3 deep breath cycles here, noticing how you can connect with the feet now, because we haven't really paid attention to the legs. Just notice how that feels. And then gently lower the knees to the mat and take a rest in child's pose. And when you find yourself in child's pose, notice where you want your arms. Do you want your arms forward? Do you want to bend the elbows and take reverse prayer? Do you want to create a diamond shape with the arms, or do you want the arms back behind you? The purpose of our practice, regardless of what it looks like time to time or day by day, month by month, is to give us the opportunity to start to learn and explore something new about ourselves. It also gives us the opportunity to remain curious because we have to see what changes each time. And so as you're here in this moment, I'd like you to just notice what you're curious about. What did you learn about yourself through this practice? So far, at least. What are you learning about the practice of your life? So far, at least. And then when you're ready, you'll gently start to release your hands underneath your shoulders, so walk them back or forward depending, and then roll up the spine to sit. From here, swing your legs around in front of you and sit on your butt. And we'll see how this feels for us today, just because we've been working on all this stuff with our hands. Go ahead and bend your knees and plant your feet on the floor. Walk your hands back behind your pelvis, and you want to make sure your fingertips are facing in the same direction as your toes. And then you're just going to bend your elbows, hug your elbows towards each other. Start to push the hands to straight, and then draw the shoulder blades onto the back and notice how the heart opens. And so here's that hockey stick shape of the arm again, and chest lifts up. Now, if you're happy as a clam here, because this might feel really, I don't know, interesting. It's fun to feel the sensations on the arms and across the chest. You can happily stay here and be like, Jessica, this is where I'm at today. I'm like, yep, you do you. If you'd like to, you can start to draw more weight into your feet, draw more weight into your hands, shift your pelvis up and away from the floor, and you'll breathe here for a few breaths. And again, you're still pushing down into the ridges of your hands. You're drawing your shoulder blades together on your back. For today, let's all go ahead and look at our belly buttons. Draw the shoulder blades onto your back and then see if that allows you to lift your chest a little bit more. And then you might start to take your gaze up, and then you might even start to take your gaze back, but you're just paying attention. And then when you're ready, the gaze comes back down to the belly button, the hips come back down to the floor, and then extend your legs long in front of you, sit tall for a moment in Dandasana staff pose, palms face up, heart remains as open as possible, and you'll just be here for 3 or 4 breaths. And as you're here, you might want to come back to those wrist circles that we took, maybe with arms, or rather fingers straight, or maybe with little claws or knuckles or fists or whatever these are called. And be sure to go both ways. Cool. And then as you're ready, you're going to turn around and lie down on your backs. Make sure your blocks are somewhere near you. Your strap is somewhere near you. Fantastic. And then when you find yourself on your back, let's go ahead and bend both of our knees and plant our feet firmly on the floor. Walk your feet outside of your hips and let your knees knock in. Now, I want you to notice how it feels. Can you get both shoulder blades onto the back and onto the floor? How does that feel across the chest space? Some of you will stay happily there. Some of you will bring a hand to the heart, a hand to the belly. Some of you will wrap your arms across your body like you're giving yourself a hug. But you'll just take 3 to 5 breaths here. And you just notice. In yoga, we say a lot that our hands are an extension of our heart. And the question always becomes like, are your hands closed? Like, do you just tight fist things, or are they open? And is that reflective of our heart? And then how can we strengthen our ability to move a little bit more into the other one? All right, if your hands are crossed, you'll go ahead and inhale, open the arms, and then exhale, switch whichever arm is on top. And I think that our ability to, either be open, or to have a good sense of our own boundaries, our own needs, our own wants, it really depends upon us learning to strengthen things, to bring awareness to them. And we do that through the repetitive acts of our lives. And so as you're here right now, I'd like you to just check in with yourself and see what final shape or shapes would feel really nurturing to you. And nurturing doesn't necessarily mean like ooey gooey. It might be something that would be strengthening and supportive for you. So it might be like a hamstring stretch because your hamstrings don't like you sometimes. You might want to do a gentle supported back bend. You might want to do some twists, or your strength pose might be to just simply take a rest. Whatever it is for you, you're going to take the next few moments to just explore that for yourself. And you're really just listening in, giving your heart the ability to extend out through the hands, to be loving and nurturing to self and others, to be courageous and strong. Yeah. You've got another couple of minutes. So if you did something asymmetrical, you might want to start to visit your other side. And then Robin, see if you can press through your big toe mound just a little bit more. And then drop the left shoulder just a little bit more so it's closer to the floor. Nice. And then when you feel complete and balanced between both sides, you'll start to make your way to your final resting pose. And for some of you, that might be Supta Baddha Konasana. For others, it might be legs up the wall or straight up Shavasana. But I do encourage you to use whatever props you have that would feel supportive to you to make your final shape a good one for you. And then, similar to how we started our practice, the first few moments in your shape, really just get comfortable. Allow yourself to be in a spot where your mind isn't agitated by a sense of discomfort or asymmetry. And then once you've noticed that, you'll notice where the mind is, what thoughts or feelings might be there. And then you'll start to take 3 deep breaths. And then you'll allow your breath to just fall into its involuntary rhythm. And as best as you can, you'll allow your awareness to stay with the movement of the breath. And whenever the mind wanders, as it will, you simply notice that and then lovingly return to the breath, watching it as it comes and as it goes. I'll leave you here with your breath for a few moments, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you longing to linger in this shape, by all means, please stay here. When you are ready to move on, allow gentle movement to re-enter into your physical form. And wiggle, yawn, stretch, in whatever way feels appropriate for you. Those in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. Those in movement, just start to make your way to one of your sides. And you'll just pause there for a few breaths. From there, you'll roll your chest more towards the floor. Use your top hand to press into the floor and draw yourself to a tall, vertical seat. And then when you're vertical, I would encourage you to sit on a block or a blanket. Soften the gaze or close the eyes completely. Plant the hands in a space where your heart space can remain open. And then notice for you how the hands are doing now. Can you soften them just a little bit more? And then notice how that travels up through the shoulders, how that connects with our ability to support the heart and keep the heart open. Next, notice what's happening in your jaw, seeing if you can release any tension in the mouth. Stack your ears in line with the tops of the shoulders, making sure shoulders are over your hips. And then you'll just take a few breath cycles here. If it helps to connect with the heart space, you might plant a hand on the heart and a hand on the abdomen. You might stack both hands on top of your heart. But you'll just take a few breaths to breathe here. Again, noticing, is the inhalation the same as the exhalation? How is the fluidity of the in-breath, the fluidity of the out-breath, the smoothness? We all go through different things in life. And I think the interesting thing is as long as we can attend to it, we will allow it to change and transform us in the best way possible. So as you're here with yourself for these last few breaths, just attend to yourself with as much attention as you can, regardless of what is there or is not. Your attention is all that matters. We'll go ahead and complete our practice with a collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Bring both hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Actively press into the tips of your fingertips and see if you can find a little bit of space between the heels of your hands. Allow the thumbs to rest into your sternum and then lift the sternum back into the thumbs. Soften your chin to the floor just a smidge so the back of the neck is long and the front of the neck is equally long. And then gently exhale all the breath from your mouths. Take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light, the breath within me honor and salute the light and the breath within each of you. Namaste.